Theatre. Hello, welcome to Mandala Theatre Company's panel discussion. This is part 2. It's on connection, creativity and voice. And I'm your host, Yasmin Sidhwa. I'm artistic director of the company. And I'm joined by a wonderful panel of 4 young people from Mandala Young Company, who are all creative, talented, and have worked with me over the years in Mandala Young Company, because they have a passion for theatre and they want to share and tell stories that have an effect on humanity. So our part 2 discussion, because part 1 was last Wednesday and it was on Facebook Live and Instagram Live at 7:30, and we couldn't get part 2 to you, so here it is right now. So yeah, we hope you'll enjoy it and you'll give us feedback afterwards. So I'm going to start by asking the young people, all of you, I want to ask you, what has the enforced isolation and lockdown, what sort of effect has it had on you personally? And also, has it made you reflect on what's important in the world to you and for humanity? But before you answer that question, can you also briefly introduce yourself? Because there might be people who didn't see last week's panel and who want to know who you are. So can we start with you, Anusha?
Yes, hi. So my name's Anusha and I'm 21. I was born and raised in Oxford and I've been working with Yaz since I was 14. Started at Pegasus Theatre and then I've been with her since she started Mandala Theatre Company. I really like this question because I think we need to think about how we're feeling in this really strange time and check in with ourselves as much as we can. I think at first, yeah, it was really hard for me as I'm quite an outgoing person. And so I really struggled with having to stay inside most of the time. But now I'm really enjoying this unexpected time for myself and to read the books I never had the time to spend really good quality time with my family and to take the time to really look after myself, I guess. I think what I've really been thinking about and reflecting on is that it's so easy and kind of, I've seen a lot of people find it really easy to feel sorry for themselves in this kind of really strange time for us because of how our lives have changed due to this pandemic. But I think what we have to acknowledge is that us feeling sorry for ourselves is a privilege, you know, not being able to go for a pint with our friends or, you know, not being able to leave the house whenever we want and to go out to the places, going to theatre even, and not being able to do these things is a massive privilege because there's still ongoing conflicts happening all over the world and people who haven't been able to leave their houses for years before this because they might have been killed, or some people not having a house to come back to. And so I think I'm not saying that we shouldn't feel sorry for ourselves. I know that it's such a strange time for everyone, but I think what we can't do is forget that these things are still happening around the world. And just because we're in our rooms doing a bit more yoga than we'd hope to be doing, I think we still need to respect those things and keep them in mind. And we need to keep our connections with one another alive now more than ever, and be checking up on each other, be creating stuff together, being together in a time which forces us to feel so alone. So yeah, I think we need to take this time to plan more projects on how we can help people in so many different parts of the world further, and be excited to put those projects into action when we can. So,
wow,
yeah.
that's amazing just to hear you thinking not only about you and your internal reflection, but also, yeah, about other people and humanity as a whole. And that's what I feel really privileged to work with you young people, because this is how you think about the world. So Rhiannon, I'm coming to you next. So introduce yourself and then what is your view on the question?
Hi, I'm Rhiannon. I am 20. I'm currently studying theatre at the University of Chichester. And I've been working with Yaz since I think I was about 16, 17, so around sort of sixth form time. So in terms of like how the lockdowns like affected me personally and stuff, I think what I've mainly noticed is that my kind of self-awareness has really like improved, I guess. I'm noticing like patterns in my behavior. I'm noticing the good and the bad, if you like, which is really, really helpful. I think it's like Anusha was saying, it's a really good time to sort of take time for yourself and actually, I guess, see what you want to do and see how you feel. In terms of like thinking about humanity and like the wider world, the main thing that I've kind of would hope comes out of this is to sort of stop taking things for granted. Kind of similar to what Anusha was saying about privilege. Like we all have so many privileges, you know, in the UK anyway. You know, we're so lucky that we get to spend time together and go out and do all these things and experience all kinds of things. But I think it's not taking all those small things for granted. Like obviously everybody is really gutted about not being able to go out and see their friends, see their family. And I think it's the connection that I think we're all missing at the minute. And I think I'm hoping there's going to be quite a big change after all of this, that everybody's going to start to look out for strangers more, look out for each other, take care of each other. So,
absolutely. And again, you know, the fact at your age, you're looking at internally at yourself. I mean, I just think how many people are taking that time to do that, because and young people, because so often at your age you're so busy doing things. So I think that's fantastic. And also connection, I think that's something all of us are feeling, and it is about, even if we have to connect through a screen, we know what connection means in terms of theatre, and we talked about that last time. So that connection with other human beings and humanity is so important. So Nelvin, coming to you, your view on this, and introduce yourself, please. You need to unmute, Nelvin.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Speak up.
My name's Nalvin. I'm of African heritage and descent, and I've been working with Yasmin. I think it's been about 3 years now, but I met Yasmin late 2013, and later on auditioned for in early 2014, and then later on carried on doing more projects with her from 2017, and it's been an ongoing job to this day. In terms of how this isolation has affected me, I would look at it in two ways, where partly from myself and then partly from the people around me. And for me personally, I'm obviously used to being in such conditions, especially when I'm designing characters. I'm always, I tend to be isolated for long periods of time, depending on what I'm working on. So for me, nothing seems out of the ordinary, even though we're in trying times, and I understand that. That's where now the people around me, when I look at them, you know, my fellow peers, you know, sort of detest this isolation. But I think what it provides us as a whole is, you know, these moments, they've given us an abundance in terms of time, and then it makes you be pensive and gives you sort of an introspective of what you have, and you become more appreciative of the things that you know, most of the time you just take it as, yo, this happens, just it's an ordinary thing. But once you get to look back on it and you see that, oh, it's not just for granted, it's something that's of value, no matter how minute it may seem, it's always of value. And that sort of now brings us back together, and you see that, you know, connectivity and being able to commute to places and to see your friends, family is something that is, you know, vital for our survival and our, you know, socialism. And I think, you know, as we move forward, and once this lockdown is over, we need to be, you know, carry on that same idea of being appreciative of things that we have, and not just always wanting more and more and more of the things that we can't reach. That just be happy with what you have, and then strive for what you'd like to get. So yeah.
Yeah, and well, it's interesting because obviously you talked in part one about you as a method actor. I mean, gosh, if ever there was a method actor, it's you. And I think you've trained yourself to be able to be alone, but not a lot of people have that ability to actually be comfortable in their own skin, to be comfortable just being. And I think that's what we're being taught. And then the other thing, yeah, go on.
Yeah, that's what I'm starting to realize, that not everyone is used to being isolated. So when there's this shift, even for me, I've sort of been taken aback, and I've taken time to realize that, yes, I'm used to it, but not everyone is used to it. And so that makes me realize that, just because I'm used to something, it doesn't mean that everyone is used to that same thing. So now it makes me more appreciative and seeing how different people have different perspectives and different livelihoods, and how our livelihoods intertwine in some way, shape or form. And when you can relate to someone else, I think that even trains you even more in terms of being self-aware, and not just being selfish, but also being empathetic and sympathetic with other people and their lives. So yeah.
No, absolutely. And it's thinking about others, not just us. And I think, yeah, Ralph, we're going to come to you, because obviously what you're doing at this moment in time is helping. So
Yeah.
you want to introduce yourself and then talk about the question and answer the question.
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to part 2. My name is Ralph Broke. I've been a part of Mandala Young Company between 2017 and 2019. Born and raised in the Philippines, and joining Mandala a bit later in life. And but yes, going back to the question. The lockdown was a shock to many, leading a lot of us astray. Like personally, it wasn't easy to be knocked out of my routine. I mean, I was going through my daily life fast. Occupying myself with work, with projects that I forgot to stop and appreciate my craft. And then I think that applies to everyone. Everyone is so immersed in their own routines that we did not notice how we have become mechanized. And I think that's what the lockdown has allowed us to reflect upon. The lockdown made me recall why I do these things, the rediscovering the inspiration to my motivation, to my drive, and essentially reignite the passions within me. And in a way, it brought me back in touch of my own humanity. And I think that is what the world needs right now, to reassess what is really valuable in our lives, and effectively find purpose within it.
Yeah, and that is so something that I've really been thinking about. Purpose. Why are we here? What is our purpose in life? And if you are lucky enough to find a career or a study that is going to be part of your passion, and you're going to go forward, and it's really why you're on this planet, why you're here. And that's where I feel blessed that I've been in theatre for 30 years, and I know why I'm doing it. And it's about young people, it's about telling stories, and it's about telling invisible stories, and that's what we talked about a lot last week. So Ralph, absolutely, purpose. What is our essence? What's essential? I'm coming back to you with the next question, Ralph, actually, so that because you were the last time. So yeah, in terms of thinking about theatre and Mandala Young Company, how has it given you confidence to have a voice, to make your voice heard?
Yeah, look, I'd like to start that question off with theatre as a whole. Theatre, the art, allowed me to express myself in many different avenues. We've talked about like physicality, projection, voice, and rhetoric, all these methods, and with all these avenues of expression, and being on the spotlight, up close to a live audience. I believe it's what Anusha mentioned on part 1. It's all about the connection between the performers, the actors, and the audience, and having that connection up close with loads of people really fuels that my confidence in ways I didn't expect, And in particular, Mandala gave me the confidence that my culture, my identity could be put more on stories on stage than what I was led to believe. And finding that voice and what Mandala has blessed me to have is emancipating. It's basically a blessing where I feel comfortable to be liberate and celebrate my own individuality. And I think Mandala and as well as theater and arts as a whole provide that blessing, you know.
Well, yeah, well, that's why I love the company and working with such a diverse group of young people, because that is what we want. We want to give that voice to people from Black, Asian, minority, ethnic, white, working class, but all backgrounds coming together and feeling like your voice, you as a person, you as a being is unique and you need to be listened to and heard. So Rhiannon, coming to you now.
Yeah, hi. So I'm gonna probably also answer that in kind of two parts as well. So I'm gonna start with Mandala. So I might have mentioned this in part one, I'm not sure, but I used to have a lot of stage fright. I used to be really, really nervous going on stage. And like, as much as I kind of realized that I really enjoyed drama, it was like, I was always a bit scared to kind of go for it or anything. And obviously the way in which I kind of found out about Mandala was my mum just being like, oh, I found this advert in the newspaper. And it was kind of that, I kind of just had to go for it. I kind of just had to jump in and get involved and give it a go, which is terrifying because of, you know, you're scared of failing and stuff. So I think in terms of helping me find my confidence, like Mandala, working with Yaz, you know, in our rehearsal space, it's a safe space. It was a place where kind of failing is encouraged. Like I felt like it was okay to try and to fail, and that was all right because you're just trying to work out what is the best way to do whatever we're trying to do, which you don't necessarily get just from school and stuff like that. And then theatre, like on a broader scale, I think it's just like once I got past that initial bump of having the confidence to use theatre as a way to talk about things and tell stories, I think theatre, if you're a performer and you have the chance and the opportunity to tell all these stories about thousands of different ideas, as you're always being introduced to new things like all the time, and I think you have this opportunity to take that and share that with other people, and that kind of, I guess, boosts my confidence a lot because it's imparting ideas and knowledge and sharing opinions and things, and I think that's what makes the world go round. That's what makes everybody tick. So yeah.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think it was that you saying yes to something, because you would have, you know, you did come to Mandala really just out of the blue. And it's because you said yes. You had the courage to say, I don't know what this is going to mean or who I'm going to meet, but I'm going to do it. And sometimes, yeah, having the courage to say yes, because maybe the universe is telling you to do something and our intuition says, say yes, but we get scared and go, no, I can't do that, it's new people. And also I'm really glad to hear that, yeah, in the rehearsal room you feel safe, because you should feel safe. To me, the rehearsal room is a place where everybody has equal input and equal ideas, and what you share and what you all put in is to tell the best story that we can tell together.
Yeah, it's just like not being afraid to fail.
Yeah, and creativity allows you to see something. It isn't really failure, it's getting better at something because you try it and it might be not what you first envisaged, but you might find something better. So yeah. Nelvin, coming to you, same question, and don't forget to unmute.
I think for me personally, when I look at confidence, I think it's not more of an internal thing, because I've always, you know, considered myself to have confidence in some degree or shape or form. I think for me it's the confidence of being able to collaborate with others, because I think oftentimes when it comes to skill-based activities and talents, sometimes one can tend to succumb to the ideologies of metaphysical solipsism, and that what is in your head is what's right. I think, and that at times leads to either pride, ego, and I think with theatre it tends to eradicate that in a really pure form, in the sense that you all come together from different walks of life, different experiences, different backgrounds, different ideas and creativity, and then you all have to collaborate to work on a piece that, and sometimes it can take weeks and sometimes even months. And like, for example, when we worked on Antigone, it took months to polish it and actually have something good. And in that way, you have to be confident enough that your fellow castmates will have your back, and then they also put that confidence in you that they're going to have you back. And remember the thing that you always tell us, that there is no right or wrong when you come to the performance. It's, you need to be confident in your own space as a cast members, and then believe that you can perform this piece all together. And then when all of that comes together, it raises your confidence a lot more, and you want to work on more projects, you want to collaborate even further. And I think at times like this, go to prove that collaboration and the togetherness is very vital to our daily lives.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Theatre, drama, it's the creative art form that cannot exist in isolation. You can't make a piece of theatre work, because you're also obviously contacting the audience and your fellow actors. And also, yeah, that whole thing that when you're on stage, the story is being newly told every day. It's not, so that's why I say there's no right or wrong. Today, the performance is, obviously we've got a structure and a way of doing this and characters, but you've got to listen anew. You've got to inhabit that character anew, and you've got to give to your fellow performers. And that's what makes a fantastic piece of theatre. Thank you. Ralph, coming to you.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. Can we hear you? So Ralph, over to you on that question.
Well, yes. I mean, like with confidence. Wait, are we still on confidence?
I think
your sound's gone a bit funny, Ralph. So I want you to talk.
Yeah, I think. Sorry.
Ralph started this, so
yeah.
Okay, so we're coming. I've confused you. It's all fine. We're allowed to make mistakes, even in panel discussions. So I've asked you the same question twice, Ralph, which is your sound is funny. But let's go to the next question, and I will start with you, Ralph.
Yes, I think I still need to answer the question.
Is it you, Anusha?
Yeah, I need to answer the question. Yes, I've been waiting.
Sorry.
It's all right.
Right. Your turn, Anusha. You've got confidence to go. I'm going to have my say, so jump in if I'm wrong. Over to you.
Yeah. So I was actually wanting to touch on what Nelvin said. I think what was really you said about the bond that cast members really build in general, but I think in particular when I've worked with Mandala, I've really found that whichever cast we are in, we always create such a special friendship, and that does allow us to count on each other and have each other's backs, like Nelvin said, which I think is so important when we need to find the confidence to speak. And I think that all of us together on stage, we all have a responsibility to get that message that we're trying to say to the audience across. So we really want them to leave the theatre really remembering what the point we're making. And I think that the fact that Mandala Company has given me, they've given me the confidence by trusting me to be able to deliver that message. And I think that's really important, because I think, especially I think growing up and going to university, I've not had many chances in theatre. As being from a South Asian girl, it's not normal to kind of see a South Asian girl in a role in a main character role, which is something that Mandala has given to me, and it's so special. I think Ralph also touched on this, the diversity within it. It does give me the confidence to speak, and it puts me in that space that I've always kind of wanted to see someone like me in. And I'd say, just, you know, you said how has Mandala allowed us to find our voice? I think that by answering that really simply is that Mandala gives everyone a voice readily. So you don't even need to find one. It's just kind of handed to us, which is so special. And you don't see it a lot in many companies or theatre these days. So yeah, I think that was my take on that.
Thank you so much for putting me right, Anusha. So yeah, in terms of that question, you know, it's sad that still you're feeling the same thing that I felt as a young mixed race, Asian, white young person, that there weren't roles for me, for people like me. They weren't centre stage, their stories weren't told. And it is sad that even today you're feeling that, you know, not enough times and space and theatre is given over to telling stories from our perspectives, or even being able to play a classical character and interpret it, because doesn't matter what your background is. So we talked a bit about that last time in the last panel discussion, but it makes me even more determined that the stories that we tell as a company and the parts that you get to play encompass all of our experiences. It goes back to what Ralph was saying about valuing who you are and your background and your experience, and being able to say, I can tell a story, whichever story, from another perspective, or we can create stories that people need to hear. So yeah, so now I'm putting us right. So I'm actually going to go on to the next question, which I will come to you, Nelvin. And the question is, you young people are our future. You are our future leaders. And I feel really confident in that, knowing you. But tell us, how do you want to shape the world? What do you want for humanity, for society in the future? So Nelvin.
The future, for me, when I think about the future, you know, I think of it as a, you know, it holds endless possibilities. And I think for us, because we're now considered as the young people going ahead, I think we should strive to maintain our creativity. And even though, you know, I understand, you know, life has to move on, you know, people have to go to work, you know, you have to go to school, uni, and etc. And at times, yes, that's fine. I have no problem with that. But at times, you know, these systems tend to sort of sway you and lead you astray from your creativity, because you're so used to a certain routine, and it sort of molds you into thinking a certain way that you at times neglect your own creativity. And I think you should never occlude it. And because now we've now sort of been put in this system of isolation, and I think people are starting to plan their time a lot more. I think even past this era that we're in, we should always try and find some time, even if it's a minute or two, to just always stay on your toes in terms of being creative. It doesn't matter what it is. You know, for us, I think we're talking more of a theatrical background. I mean, people out there, they're creative in either drawing, singing, math, anything, any skill. Just always maintain that creativity, because I think when you exercise that creativity, it gives you, you will end up developing the part of your mind that's responsible for solving problems, and you find that ingenuity when you approach most problems with ingenuity, and that is vital to solving even future problems. In terms of, even for example, right now we're in this pandemic, you know, there are still certain elements, certain holes in there that because we've never seen this before, right? So we need to come up with solutions, you know, so that it doesn't happen again. And I think creativity will be key in these certain situations. And I think it's very important. Even I think as a quote from Albert Einstein, he said creativity and your imagination is more important than knowledge. And for someone like him who's dedicated his life to physics, and he was a scholar, for him to say that, it just goes to show how valuable creativity is. And as young people, we need to nurture that, because that's our shield, that's our strength. And when you connect with other people and their own different creativities, you combine all of that, then I think the future will end up being something beautiful, something that we would be proud, whatever we'll be able to create and solve, to leave that behind for the future generations as we get older. So yeah.
Well, you know, two real amazing things that you've said there. You know, Einstein said it. Ken Robinson, who's a great educationalist and speaker, talks about the separation of creativity and intelligence, and they shouldn't be separate. They're one and the same thing. And next time, with the next group of young people from Mandala Young Company, we're actually going to talk about creative education. So you've hit on something that I feel is absolutely crucial. Anusha, I'm coming to you now to talk about the future.
Yeah, I think this question, I'm constantly kind of adding to it, because I think we're all always thinking of what we want to, you know, what we would like to see in the world and our future, what things we can hopefully implement. And I think just to list a few that I'm quite passionate about, I would love a world with no gender pay gap. I would like a world which teaches children, or at least gives them the opportunity to learn at school about the struggles of histories of all ethnic minorities, and be open in explaining the injustice that this country has inflicted on them in the past, such as colonialism in India and partition, which is never taught in schools. I would like a world which collectively recognizes that climate change is an emergency that needs everyone's help. I want a world where race or financial circumstances don't affect a child's opportunities or dreams. And above everything else, I want a world which is always striving to do better. I want a world which is striving for equality. I'm not saying that we can reach it within, you know, however many years, but I think the most important thing is that we're trying. And at the moment, it just feels like we're not connected as the world to be striving to a goal together. And I think that's what I would really like, is to see that togetherness, and to see a common goal that we're all really passionate about and trying to achieve. So yeah, sorry, gets me going a bit. Thinking about
that world, you know, who wouldn't want to be in that world of equality? And, you know, we're in a time of such inequality. You know, not to be political, but I don't know if people saw a poem written by Jacinda Ardern, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, which took the Maori language and talked about the world and what we're doing to it and this moment in time. And it was so compassionate, and it made me go, wow, we need leaders like that for the future, for all of us, because if we could all be, not just thinking with our heads, but with our hearts, I think the world will be a very different place. So Rhiannon, coming to you.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, who wouldn't want to live in a world that the other two have kind of talked about? And it's interesting that you brought up the Maori, because I was just thinking about, for me, if we want to get to a world like that, that kind of starts with what I was saying about earlier, about caring for each other and a connection between everyone. And the reason why I say it's interesting you brought up the Maori is because a book that is literally like my favourite book ever, and I definitely recommend to anybody in the world, is Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell, which essentially one of the main kind of ideas that he is exploring is interconnectivity, like the connection between worlds and universes and strangers from one time and another. And it starts with this slave being a stowaway in this cabin, and this white man kind of actually finding the empathy for him to then help him, and then it goes on and on. But yeah, back to kind of the main question, I guess, is I think if we want to get to a world where you know there is this equality, where people live without these prejudices, essentially where they kind of like live their life without fear of being judged, or all of this, if you like, kind of world peace ideals, which would be incredible. I think it really comes down to kind of just starting to look out for one another and care for people that you don't know. I think, I don't know if somebody said this in part one last time, but that whole idea of, you know, do unto your neighbor as you would yourself, you know, love your neighbor like you want to be loved. So yeah.
No, beautiful that you mentioned Cloud Atlas, because we watched it as a family film and I'd read it before.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally get with that. And also, gosh, the fact that you're thinking about universes and not just one life. Wow, you know, at your age, you're thinking these things and wanting these things. And yeah, to me, it just makes me go, I have hope for the future. I really do. Ralph, over to you finally. Sorry about muddling you up.
Hopefully my audio is better this time. It's all right. I mean, like, all these things happen. But again, I'm last. The majority of the points that I mirror, I would mirror and echo myself, has already been mentioned. But on how I want to champion our future is mainly just to put it in a nutshell, is just like social justice, like through communication and comprehension with each other. I'm very sure everyone has mirrored this this fact. I personally always have seen theater as a medium to project altruistic messages and values and ethics, and we can't blame anyone at all what's happening in the world, because we are all guilty of it. We are all living in our own bubbles. We have certain perspectives, so we may not actually know is present on our neighbors, and hopefully through our stories of unheard adversity, I'm hoping that the world will be a more understanding place in the future. Hopefully after this lockdown, we would pick up something to reflect that deeply.
Absolutely. And, you know, obviously that's what Mandala Theatre Company is all about, looking at social justice. And theatre, you know, it's from the beginning of time when stories were told, they were told to talk about what society is like, what we're doing to reflect on ourselves. And that's something that's been going on from always. And we've got to make sure that theatre is not elitist. It's got to go back into schools.
Absolutely.
It's got to be for every single person, because it is a powerful way to communicate. Okay, we're coming on to our final question now. You've done really well. So this time I just want you to leave a pearl of wisdom or a nugget that you want to share about connection, creativity through theatre. So I'm coming to you, Rhiannon, first.
Okay, so my answer to this question would be, you know, to take opportunities, no matter how scared you are, no matter how scary they seem. You know, there is that massive fear of the unknown, but take those opportunities, because they might turn out to be incredible. And kind of just to be open to new ideas, be open to new people, be open to other people's ways of thinking as well. You know, look for those connections in each other, really.
Brilliant. Thank you. Nelvin, your pearl of wisdom.
For me, what I would say is strive to achieve what you set out to do. And, you know, even in times of adversity, don't let that falter your progress. You know, when you're faced with this adversity and those difficult and trying moments, just adapt and persevere, because at the end of it, you know, you'll be all right and you'll be a step closer to achieving what you want. And I think also for a second one, it would be, I think it's a verse from the Bible, First Thessalonians 5:15. You know, it says that, see that no one repays evil with evil, but always seek that which is good for one another and for all people. And I think in this moment, it's quite a powerful thing because so many people are going through trying times and so much difficulty, and the injustices that seem to almost overwhelm and overshadow these people that are suffering, you know, that shouldn't be the way. And that the case should be that, you know, we strive to, like Rhiannon said, do unto others you wish to be done unto you, and help them out, because, you know, it's the best thing to do. It's good, and you have that. It gives you that sense of just seeing someone happy, you know, and then that is makes you be at peace with yourself and in the world. And you know, we always look forward, like you said, for the future. We want the future to be better, even not just for us, but for future generations that will come after us, and therefore, and so on. So yeah.
Oh, compassion, and that's what you're talking about, and that is a future that will be for everyone. Coming to you, Ralph, on this one, your nugget or pearl of wisdom.
My golden nuggets about creativity through theater. So creativity to me is simply about connecting things together, to build, to mold something beautiful out of nothing, and that is what theater is. Theater is about connecting people, strangers, becoming friends through performance, emotion, and intensity on stage. And I'm going back to what Anusha said on part one about the audience. Again, the audience and the actors connecting, because the audience vibrate on the actors, feeling their suffering, their rejoice, relating to the act with their own experiences, their own stories. And that is what theater is. Theater reveals the bare essential in life and what it means to be human. And I'm going back to my point on the previous question about we all live in our bubble. And I think theater allows us to burst through that bubble and connect with others.
Yeah, brilliant. That, you know, I've got nothing to add to that apart from the energy within a space when human beings have energy and we give off energy, and yeah, that energy you can't find anywhere else. So even though at the moment in lockdown people are trying to do drama, there's nothing that can match live physical expression and connection. Anusha, finally, last but not least, your pearl of wisdom.
Yeah, so I would say that from my experiences of connection and creativity in theatre, I've learned that there are really no limits of what we can achieve together. And I think the key word there is together. Growing up with you, Yaz, doing theatre, I think unity has always been a really special word to us as a company. And I think that if you want to feel part of a family, part of a movement, or part of something that really matters, something that's bigger than us, theatre and through Mandala is where I found it. And I can't recommend it enough to anyone out there who's thinking about it, or, you know, maybe a bit nervous to start. I think it's the best way to connect, to stay together, and to make a difference.
Yeah, well, that unity, I mean, it's what drives me to be with you guys. And yeah, it is like another family. And I think that's what everybody needs, to find their people to who they feel they can belong to. And what you've all been talking about is actually all of humanity needs to belong to each other, that there is a bigger unity, that obviously we're going to function in smaller groupings, but we can also function in a large grouping because everybody does have compassion for each other. So I have absolutely loved having this discussion with you. I'm, you know, really excited to share it with people online. It will also be on YouTube so people can find it later if they haven't seen it today. And we're also going to be having another 2 Wednesday weekly evening sessions with other young people from Mandala Young Company. And they will be looking at connection, creative education and empathy. And we'll be looking at that in 2 parts again. So thank you for joining us. Thank you guys for sharing and being on this panel and being full of confidence, and you have a voice that's really special. So yeah, do come and join us 7:30 Wednesday evenings on Facebook and Instagram Live. Thank you.